We are live with our guests.
Hey.
Yes. All right, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Miriam, thanks for being with us tonight.
Seriously. You're welcome. Marmalade. She's my twin.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane.
This is the last meeting of the year, thank goodness. Let's make it a good one. I don't know if we can be if it's gonna be as good as the one last.
That's because you and I were gone, man.
I know, it was 30 minutes and out of here, so we've got we've got a time to be tonight. Anyway, Cody Allen did text, he said he'll be here, but he'll be just a little bit late, but we appreciate the rest of the council being here. You know what, I'll go ahead and say the opening prayer, and then we'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and go back. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this night. We're grateful for the many blessings that thou hast given us, and grateful for this opportunity we have to be here and to do the work of the citizens of Roosevelt City. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve, and grateful for all those that serve along with us, and especially grateful for the staff of Roosevelt City. All that they do is providing the services they do for our citizens. For our law enforcement and for our firefighters, and keeping us out of harm's way, and ask a blessing upon them, that they may do so in safety. We are grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy, for the abundance that we have had, and would ask this night that thy Spirit will be with us to guide us and direct us in our efforts and the decisions that we will make. And Father, thank you for all that we have. In this we pray humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any? We'll go ahead and look at the minutes. Are there any amendments or corrections that need to be made for last meeting's minutes?
I didn't see any, so I move we approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councilman White. Motion by Councilman Lusenbach. Just that's a given.
I just want to keep the meeting moving, man.
I'm just kidding you.
That's all right.
It's good. And a second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll make a note that Councilman Allen has joined us before so. Did you have something to say, Councilman Guzman?
No. Keep moving.
All right. We do have our public comment period. We do have a lot of people here, so we would ask that you be brief in your statements. You can take up 3 minutes if you'd like.
No, sir. Okay.
Are there any here tonight that would like to address the council? Go ahead.
All pass, thank you.
I gave you opportunities in the last meetings, you won't say anything.
Maybe one day I'll surprise you and I'll get up and say something.
Thank
Thank you, you're welcome.
We have a few action items tonight. First of all, we have Sunshine present the next 2023 calendar, so next year's calendar.
Do you want to go right into the one first? Yeah. I'll put the wrong thing. Okay. We can go back to the list. I did make a actual year at a glance calendar. This is probably more helpful anyway, since it just breaks down the date for every meeting. Everything has retained the same rotation. You'll notice like,
Sorry.
oh, I did put it in this packet, good. You'll notice I have election days on there. That's not really necessary to include on the calendar, it's just for your information. The only things of note that are missing, I wasn't sure what was gonna happen with the Interfaith Advisory Committee. I don't believe that they have a set scheduled rotation yet. If they did, that would need to be on this calendar, but it's something we can just add later, especially since this, as it is, just gets published, kind of a one-shot thing, but then it gets updated on our public calendar on the website, so we can always add that once we know. And then city council meetings are noted in blue, and we have one conflict, for Independence Day for July 4th. That would usually be a work session day. So if you approve of this calendar, I would appreciate a motion. I would like to deal with that if you want to go ahead and cancel that meeting or reschedule what you'd like to do. So there's some questions.
What are your thoughts on election day? I know there have been times that we've had council meeting that night, sometimes we've canceled it.
There's not a conflict with election in council, it's with that.
July 4th.
What would you like for?
Mhm.
If
Which the opposites usually.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
I assume you wouldn't want to have that meeting, but I don't know if you want to cancel it or reschedule it.
If we indicate that those work sessions are as needed, will that?
I mean, the thing is you're always free to cancel a meeting with 24 hours notice, so you can always opt to leave it on there. To me, it seems a little silly to leave it on there when we know the city office is gonna be closed.
Yeah, they say we take that one off, and honestly, state statute requires that we meet once a month, so as
Yeah.
long as we at least meet once a month, we're fine. So I'd say we just.
Okay, so I'll just take that off without rescheduling an additional work session day.
I would say so. That's a freebie. Stay home with your family.
That would also be the election day. Did we decide?
So the election day one is a little bit different. We have had it on caucus night. That's a
Oh, I
little bit
missed that in
difficult.
November.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
They close on Thursday.
I messed up my,
He wrote down to two.
every once in a while it's easy to mess up spreadsheets, so that's what happened there.
In November, we don't have it on there anymore.
It would be the 8th and
Yeah,
22nd.
I have the meeting, but.
And then November would be the.
So it's not up to the 20th.
Yeah, I transposed my Tuesdays and Thursdays accidentally. I can fix that. Everything is the same, even if my calendar is incorrect. I apologize.
We'll forgive you.
Have you reviewed the holidays with city staff to make sure that they're?
Yeah, the holidays are the same list, if you wanna go back to that other. It's the same, list as what was, the same days that was approved last year. Again, the only note would be, we do 2 Christmas days, so that would be, December 25th and then December 26th. I forget what days of the week those are, but those are
Monday,
my policy. And, then we don't have Columbus Day in lieu of Thanksgiving and additional Thanksgiving.
There's. Yeah, those look like good things to me, so.
Any other questions?
Move we approve with those minor adjustments for the July.
The error in the work session day and making sure that city council and all those line up properly.
We have
I'll
a
second.
motion in a second by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Sunshine. Appreciate you. Chief Watkins.
Does everybody understand how the alcohol money works? Yeah, the state, okay, basically. The sales of alcohol and the prosecution of alcohol, they collect money. They put a little math equation together with amount of population, convictions and prosecution and so forth, and they come up with a figure and they get whatever percentage of that. So we usually get around 20,000 a year. Our last couple of years, or year and a half I've been here, we've had a couple of that lay or carry over. And the reason why is because that money has to be earmarked for enforcement of alcohol or narcotic enforcement, treatment, or prosecution. So I've been putting a big dent in that money, and my goal is not to bring any over into the next budget or lay over. So we should be getting a check hopefully here in the next couple of days. And one of the items that I ran across is the state surplus command post vehicle. And I believe you have pictures in there. A lot of the a lot of the equipment is gone, but they do have the benches and the workplaces, the desks, whatever. It's 32 feet motorhome. They want 18,000 for it. It's about 36,000 miles on it, give or take. It's been well maintained. I have maintained maintenance records, onboard generator, and this would be ideal for us to start to use it for special events and for alcohol search or roadblocks and our search warrants, narcotic search warrants, such stuff like that. So it would be well used around, and that would fit that criteria. So with that in mind, again, a lot of the equipment I'll have to come up with eventually. We do have radios that can go into it, a couple other items, but I can work on that afterwards. I think it's actually a pretty good deal. We had an officer sent out last week that went over it and started it up and stuff. It used to be a command post or command vehicle for the Department of Public, DPS, Department of Public Safety and Homeland Security, the state. They're just surplusing it. It was for 20,000, but they kicked it down to 18. So what I'm asking is, I'd like to purchase this for 18,000. Have that money and contingent that I get it, which should be here any day.
One question.
Yeah.
Where would we keep it?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Yeah, my attitude before the other day was I'll find a spot. There has been thought that we do have possible place down by the high school. And that would be ideal because we've been working on the reunification with the high school and using that, help me if I'm right, by USU, their building. And I had mentioned something and they said that would be an ideal place. We have any type of reunification with all the schools, and we've been working on that program. They would be going down there. We'd actually have a command post on site, which would be ideal. And then, of course, from there to wherever else.
Any other questions? Can I take it on the weekend?
No, there's no beds on there, buddy, but I think there's a hard table you can throw. Like I said, it has to be earmarked and used for alcohol enforcement or narcotic enforcement. We definitely use it for that. On the same note, we can also use it. It's going to be a UBIC. We're going to sticker it, nice our emblem on the side of it. Make it look the best we can, and it'll be a really nice centerpiece on any special events or occasions or stuff like that.
How do you feel budget-wise? I mean, that money coming in?
$24,000 budgeted based on the best information. It varies from year to year. Based on what we've received in the past, we have 24,000 budgeted. I told the chief that the last 2 years we have received that money on the 22nd of December, so I should be seeing that any day now. And
so it's already budgeted to spend?
it is, we had carryover quite a bit from the last year that had not been utilized, that we've just done the K-9, the purchase of the K-9 to utilize those funds, so.
And you're satisfied that it fits within the grant that has been being given?
Yes, and the chief knows that better than I do, what it is that they accept, so. If he feels confident about it, I do.
The statute, the criteria simply says, and I don't have any word for word, but it's only about 15 words. It says, must be spent on alcohol or drug enforcement, treatment, prosecution. It's vague, basically. And again, we use it for a couple roadblocks, alcohol enforcement, and our narcotic search warrants, whatever, that fit in ideally.
I move we approve on contingency of getting the money, right?
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councilman Barry. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chief. Are you going to present the RFP?
And
Okay. We'll have you do that since Josh is out.
now I know what a
backup quarterback feels like. Run, but at halftime.
Didn't get any reps during the week.
No. Should have paid attention, huh? No, basically tonight, we're wanting to come and request for permission to go out for an RFP. We currently don't, we have an old one that we drafted, I believe, 2 years ago, that, I think. But we want it, currently, right now, the cafe is empty at the golf course, and we want to get somebody back in there. We're kind of seeing what our options are. There's been a few different ideas out there, and so if we throw that RFP out and see what we get and see what interest there is, and hopefully we can come up with someone, an idea of how to fill that side of the building up with some goods. So,
Were you in on the conversation on that, Robbie? We were discussing that. So one of the things that I'll throw it up there that I feel really strongly about, the RFP, I think is a good idea, but I think we ought to target certain areas possibly. I mean, we've had how many like sit down restaurant type, operations come in and just, they don't really last very long. They don't do real well. So one of the ideas that I think would work pretty well is if we go to some of the convenience store owners. We have Mark Kicken, we have Labrams that own Arby's, and that can be Crumbos. And, we've had the other Labram family that owned LCL, like the Chester Fried Chicken, those types of things that are more just grab on the fly, convenience store type stuff. They would already have beer licenses if they wanted to sell beer. I'm just wondering if we, obviously it'd be open to whomever, but I wonder if we as a city kind of target and go out to talk to some of those owners of convenience stores to see if they have any interest. I feel like that might be something that would be more successful there versus, having a chicken sandwich that you wait 45 minutes on. You have nachos or a hot dog or just a fried chicken that's hot and ready. You just grab it and go, and it's very easy to.
do we have the option to do a drive-through there?
Golf cart. I know what he's thinking already, and I'm on board. See what you're thinking. I'll see what you're thinking. Chick-fil-A.
Inspired. It's
We need a bigger parking lot.
But I don't know if anybody knows any of those individuals personally or has any contact with them, but I know Lynn Labram, so I was gonna touch base with him and Cody and just see what their thoughts were. But if you guys, one of you know Mark Hicken or Michelle and Craig from both, might be a good idea to just reach out to one of those two and see what their thoughts are.
We actually do a really good job of our concessions.
Yeah.
It's fast.
That's a thought too. And the more people we could get, interested, maybe.
Yeah.
We need an ice cream place around here, but,
Well, I know we already have one right now.
I like ice cream all season.
All seasons.
So what do you need from us?
Just permission to move forward, and we'll send this thing out and see what we get.
Do we have to update the RFP, or are you just sending the same one out, or what do we need to do?
When we finish the RFP, do you need to see it again before we?
No, I'm just curious if you,
Is there anything specific that you want it to say? Because you can do it like we do on some of the contracts where you approve it with certain things that you want. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what kind of motion we need here to move forward, because it sounds like we
I
need
think
to.
you could just keep it basic if you don't have anything specific, just directing staff to do an RFP to try to find a service provider.
Because I do like the mayor's idea of expanding that a little bit and maybe contacting those because I agree, I think they could do better than hiring staff to work there when it could be dead at times, and other times, people are waiting and they're trying to get back out, or if it's grab and go stuff. So I like that idea. I just didn't know if we needed to do anything or just keep it general that you guys figured out.
I think there's some advantages to keeping it general, because we can target those places with the same thing, just knowing that's what they do.
Okay.
But it could still attract things that we haven't thought of that you might like.
Well, I move we proceed forward with the RFP for the golf course.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cloward. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving forward, do we have the MOU attached to this? I see that this might be. So finally got, with Ballard City and got this back from them. So with the gun range, one, there was a conditional use permit that was issued to Roosevelt City to be able to build there, and certain provisions that Roosevelt City needed to meet. I don't see all of those in this MOU. I don't know if that is a problem, Grant. There's a couple of things that are in the conditional use that we would probably want attached to this MOU, and I didn't realize it until just now. But a couple of those are, for example, porta potties out there at the shooting range for people to utilize. Making sure the trash is cleaned up, which we're going to do already. One of the things we committed to is surveillance out there, but that's something that we want to do anyway. And we've been talking with Strata about our spectrum. And so that, you'll see those listed here. But maybe if we do approve this tonight, just, we've all seen, I think, that conditional use permit before. Just make mention that this along with whatever provisions are in the conditional use permit. One of the things in the conditional use permit, though, and it might get us into trouble, and this is something that I didn't think about in our meeting when we met either, is in the conditional use permit, it specifies the road and how it's supposed to be done and to what degree it's supposed to be done, where this MOU actually modifies that provision in the MOU. So what are your thoughts on that?
We would need to add language to this, but I think we can say in this that it's modifying the conditional use permit, and then we would just have to get Ballard's feedback on whether or not they were okay with it.
Okay.
If the situation was reversed, I would just treat this like an addendum to that. So my recommendation to you guys would be, if you want to go ahead and approve, but this as an addendum, you can. So that's one way that we can do it. The other way, if they don't want to do that, would be to redo the conditional use.
Okay, so maybe we can approve it that way. If they agree, they can agree in their meeting. If not, then they can send it back to us. We're not in a real big time crunch right now because it's -10 outside. Somebody turned the switch off, but maybe just guide us along as we.
I can put language in. If that's what you guys have approved.
Okay, and I think personally, I think that we would definitely want to mention that this supersedes whatever provisions are in the initial conditional use permit, so that there's no.
And that, and incorporating the other things that are in the conditional use that aren't.
Okay. And if anything, if this does get approved tonight, we can get a copy of that and get it in the council's hands next meeting as well, just so that. Yeah.
So are you thinking you're gonna table a decision on this then until the council's had a chance to look at the conditional use permit?
Well, let's go through this and see how comfortable they feel. We all agreed on the conditional use permit originally.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we all agreed on the conditional use permit originally, so this will be modifying that. So unless the council, the main thing was the road, which this addresses, but it's up to the council. Do you guys want to see the conditional use permit before making a decision tonight? Or we've already agreed?
Is this a Ballard City issue, conditional use?
Yeah. Yeah.
They made this MOU knowing what's in the conditional use permit, knowing that this
Correct.
is different. Basically, the road
Yeah.
is different.
The only provision, the only thing that's different in the conditional use permit And this is the modification of what our requirements will be on the road.
So they've already issued the conditional use permits already in place, so this.
But this is less stringent on the road than what the conditional use.
Sure, maybe, yeah, maybe I can bring you up to speed, because it has been quite a while since we talked about this. So, when we went to Ballard City to get the conditional use permit, they put on, well, 4 things. First thing was that it needed to be open to the public. And from daylight to daylight is what we agreed. So Chief Watkins, that means one of your officers would go out, 7 a.m., whenever sun up, open it up, and then, or a staff member, and then at dawn, somebody would go and close it. So that was one of the provisions. Second provision was that we have the porta potties there for use for the public. The third thing was making sure, trash collection was available. And then the fourth one was, well, there might have been 5, because the surveillance was part of that, and then the road. So those were the conditions that were set on us being able to build the gun range down there. Roads was the most costly, and the one that we were questioning when we went to get the grant from the federal government. We were thinking we would be able to build into the project enough money and grant money to cover that road. And we were looking at about $200,000 allocated to that road at the time. When that grant didn't come through, we budgeted $300,000 for Roosevelt City towards the project. That takes 2/3 of our project money right off the bat. And then we still have another road we need to build from where our property, where Ballard City ends and our property begins, that we have budgeted for $90,000. So just the roads alone would have taken up our whole budget. So we went back to Ballard City and said, hey, and that's when we came to the council, remember, and we said, how much can we afford to really use towards that road? And the council set the limit at $50,000. We went back to Ballard City and said, we will use all the excess material we can from the gun range, and we'll haul it to the road, and we'll do everything that we can to build the road up, and then we'll use up to $50,000 of our own money to improve that road. But that's all we can commit to.
So,
And they agreed, and so this is the MOU coming back, showing that that's what they agreed to, and certain things that they'll actually do. And, yeah.
It seems like the easiest thing to do, whether or not it's allowed. You said we can add this as an addendum to the original.
We could, where the conditional use permit is coming from them, they would be the ones that would need to do it. We can make that proposal. And like I said, if the positions were reversed and you guys had issued a conditional use permit and then later entered into an agreement that was modifying the terms, my recommendation would just be to treat the later agreement as an addendum. But we would want it to be specified in it. And right now, that language is not in there. But I'm not expecting a problem, because I think that's the way that Ballard is probably already viewing it.
That's my suggestion.
Just to approve it as an addendum. One other thing that I was, a slight concern that I had, it just specifies 50,000 budget for road materials. My feeling is, and it's a slight modification, up to $50,000, meaning if we can do it for cheaper, then we get to keep the money. I don't want them to think if we get it to a certain standard and we still have $20,000 to spend, we just, I don't know, how do we do that, Grant?
Well, I don't think that it very accurately reflects what the intended agreement was anyway, because I think we were thinking that we would do 2, 3, and 4 plus number 1. And the way that they've written it is like, to me, it's like number 1 includes all, or 2, 3, and 4 up to the $50,000 amount. And so I think that it's better for the things that Ballard wants to see to amend it as well, because we're actually willing to do more than I think what they wrote up. But I've thought about this a little bit since last week, JR, and then haven't come up with language that I really love, but I think with just changing number one under Roosevelt City, that I could come up with something saying that we will spend $50,000 in addition to the things listed in 2, 3, and 4. And that's what the agreement was supposed to be.
So would it be better to table this until you can work it, or better?
If we can table it, or I'm comfortable with you approving it kind of the way we have in some agreements in the past, where you're just telling me, make it say $50,000 plus 2, 3, and 4. And I'll work on the language and.
And as long as nothing changes monetarily or anything, the structure of it, we just leave it up to, and in the motion, subject to legal counsel review, so that he can massage that language and make it what the intent is.
Yeah.
Any other questions on kind of how where we're at and how we got here? Any other concerns or thoughts? I thought it was very, I was actually surprised that Ballard City said that they would put $10,000 towards the road and $10,000 towards shooting benches for the shooting range. I thought that was a good gesture and a nice offer.
And also just the fact that they took the laboring work putting this together, I think shows that they're committed to this make it.
So will the road come in under that total amount of money we have on there? Or
It has to, or we stop. Our commitment, total commitment is only, and that's why I want to say up to some language that says, hey, if we get halfway through that road and we're building it to the standard we want and we run out of money, like, we did our part. That was my fear, is if we get started, we're confident we can get it built to the standard and stay within that 50,000, but if for some unforeseen reason and diesel goes up, we want to make sure that there's protection for Roosevelt City.
Yeah, I'll make sure that whatever we put together.
So,
Would that kind of language make Ballard want to say the same thing with their contribution up to?
well,
Because they're committing to a certain amount.
no matter what, yeah. And we could, you know what, we did commit up to 50,000. We could, I still like what Grant said, because we did commit, to their benefit, we did commit 2, 3, and 4, and 1 in addition to those things, not that those would be included in that 50,000. I mean, there was a little vagueness in there, but we want the project to go. They want the project to go. So we don't have to say that up to 50,000. We can just leave it at 50,000 and make sure that it's
We
clear.
could say not to exceed.
Not to
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of understand why it's right now. It's $50,000 budget, then, yeah, it does include road materials, but $50,000 budget for additional road materials on top of 2, 3, and 4. To me, it says that the budget is 50,000, but it doesn't have to be. That's just the way I think it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can clarify that.
And you, with what you're pointing out, Dave, and then JR talked about this, that we could just leave it alone, but the danger is that we could reach a point where we're interpreting it different than they are. And so that's the only reason I'm suggesting that we make some modifications to it. But to be clear, you don't have to. I mean, you can say it says what it says. We think we understand, and you can go forward with it like it is. And that applies both to the number 1 for Roosevelt City and to specifying that it amends the conditional use permit. Because you can say that already clear.
We definitely want to make clarification that this is amends the conditional use permit.
My recommendation on both things, the conditional use permit and number 1, I think that we should tighten it up a little. That what Dave was pointing out is that you can read it the way that it is right now and reach the same conclusion as what we're wanting to say. I'm just worried that there's more room for them to reach a different conclusion with the current
Space in that big.
And if this project goes on for another 5 years or something,
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to avoid, and I know they were a little bit caught off guard, I guess, but we wanted an MOU anyway, because everybody wants this deal to happen. But we definitely don't want to get 5 years from now and have, or 10 years from now and have their council, well, you guys didn't finish that road again, why didn't you finish the road, you didn't pave the road, you didn't do this, and where we have it in writing, like, hey, this is what we, yeah, it better be clear, as the water we shoot fish in. And that's what we're just trying to avoid, is making sure that there is we remove as much as we can the possibility of having poor feelings or things arising in the future that would come back and be a detriment to the relationship.
So I'll make a motion. Treat this as an addendum to this conditional permit that we've already had issued to us by Ballard City, and make the corrections and have it all subject to the legal counsel as per the discussion we've had. I guess just make sure that we address number one, and then make sure that it's in there, that it's in the original conditions.
We have a motion, do we have a second, or an alternate?
I'll say.
Second by Councilman Allen, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and Councilman Barry made the motion, go ahead.
Just for the record, so I know it's been in the minutes here, the corrections are gonna be included or not to exceed $50,000, and make it clear that it amends the conditional use permit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And any other language that would clear up understanding the seas, maybe council sees fit. Thanks, Grant.
Yes.
All right,
And
yes.
you skip 6, the committee appointment.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was so excited about. Okay. So we did have, Sunshine went out and advertised for positions for the Arts Parks and Rec Committee. And we did have somebody respond, which was really good. And so Jacqueline McKee, did I tell you a different name? I did, oh, did I not? Oh, goodness gracious. Sorry. Okay. That's because I'm trying to sneak one in on you guys.
Good ringer.
Yeah. Jacqueline McKee has submitted a letter of interest. She's involved with a lot of different sporting programs, particularly volleyball, I believe, and some others. And so I would recommend her to the council to be appointed to the Arts Parks and Rec Committee under the Sports/Parks Subcommittee. Is that correct, Preston? Did you want to say anything about that? Do you know Jacqueline?
I do,
Can you vouch for her?
yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I was gonna see if you guys would approve and make sure I follow up and reach out to her and
Awesome. And we do have one more vacancy, right, under the
the rec.
rec
Yes.
subcommittee. So we'll be working on that. Maybe Sunshine, if we can open up another advertisement for that position.
I believe it's still open, but I'll check,
Oh,
and
okay.
if it is still open, I'll republish it so that it's on
Gotcha.
top of people's feet, yeah.
Excellent. And then if anybody knows anybody that'd be interested in the rec subcommittee, please send them our way. So we've got a great committee. Preston's been doing a great job. The committee are putting in a lot of hard work. I didn't make it to the last meeting. I was in, I
Well,
called
we
in.
had you.
I should have sent a picture where I'm at. But I did get back with John Chadwick, who is kind of taking the whole 4th of July for the most part, fireworks,
Yes.
entertainment, music, sound, and doing the majority of all of it. He did respond back to me. He said he's sick. He's in Indonesia or something like that. And he's not feeling real well, but he'll get the contract out. So at least I did get a response back to him. That will ultimately be something that will need to be, we want to make sure that the Parks and Rec committee's on board, so as soon as we get the contract, we'll probably bring it and specify what the costs are. I'm hoping that they approve it because we've already kind of put all this together, and I'm curious to see how it works out.
And I'm pretty confident they will.
Awesome. So,
I move we approve Jacqueline McKee for the Arts Park Rec Committee.
okay, we have the motion, we have a second by Councilman Clower. We're 10 minutes past where we were last meeting, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Have a word at the end.
Altamont Energy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, all right, Rowdy volunteered to chair the meeting next time.
Okay, what we have here is, Vermont Energy approached us about a month ago to utilize our parking lot down at the major park, just the southeast corner of it, to put up a temporary pad. There'll be, no, I'm not an oil field guy, so if I murder this, somebody correct me, but anyway, they're heating up water, transferring it right there, pumping it to their pad. North of the nature park there in North Crescent. So we,
Heating up water, they're setting a tank there.
there's three tanks and a big propane tank too. So I also, there were some concerns there after getting with Grant and he's looked it over and we feel like this is a pretty good one right here. We did make a few changes. This is their kind of cookie cutter that they give everybody, but we went in and kind of adjusted a few things. We didn't want them in there long term. The longest they can be in there is 6 months, but they're telling us 6 weeks. So I'm guessing maybe a couple months. And so, but I did reach out to the hospital and Moon Lake to see if they had any concerns because they're the neighboring right there, and neither one had issues with this. So that is about all I have. They will be paying us $5,000. And I believe there was a 30-day, refresh my memory here, 30 days to get out of there and have everything cleaned up too as well. So I did drive down today to make sure everything looked all right and they're ready. They're kind of waiting on us because I told them that it's not for sure thing until tonight, so
So this is fresh water.
fresh water.
Are they gonna be running it through like a lay flat? They'll be running.
Yeah, there's a lay flat and it'll go underneath the driveway, so it won't affect the construction. I did get with DWR too, for the construction of the pond and make sure there was no interruption there and everything looked good.
So are they actually just keeping it contained on the existing parking lot we have there right now?
Yeah,
And just a small section of it.
There's
Yeah.
no new disturbance anywhere outside that parking lot?
they are not. The only thing they are doing is they have 2 lay flats that will be going to the creek. But Dry Gulch gave them the go ahead to pump water out of that creek as well.
And you said there's like a temporary pond that they're gonna be building? Or-
No,
That's the
the
DWR.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
DWR is gonna be in there on January 3rd and starting to dig the pond for the nature park, so.
It's in a different area though, so it should be able.
It is, but there'll be, I was really concerned about the heavy equipment going in and unloading and semis turning around, so I don't know if you remember the parking lot, there's power poles right in the middle, kinda. What you probably remember. They're sandwiched between them and the trees, so really there shouldn't be any truck semis driving over there anyway, and so they're kinda tucked in the corner.
How big are the tanks are setting, you know?
How big are they?
Kind of like what kind of footprint they gonna be taking on.
There's a footprint on here, you can go up just a little bit.
They kind of look like oversized storage containers.
So just 1,000-barrel racks.
Yeah,
Is there a site diagram somewhere we can look at?
Just
Or
curious.
if there's a site height.
We see a site diagram. Ryan and I looked at maps. We did, I think if you keep going up, there's yeah, right there, 140 by 250 feet.
I can pull it up on GIS too, if you want to see kind of what
There is
portion.
an exhibit mentioned, but I've never seen it attached here. I haven't.
One of my biggest concerns, originally in the language, it would just automatically continue if they wanted to stay, month after month. But that's no longer right, just 6 months, and that's it.
They would have to come and just basically renegotiate a whole new agreement.
It's gonna, huge amount benefit. Not a huge, but actually it will benefit a little bit. It's $5,000.
Two on where you want money to go, but is there, it's your guess'.
I would say we ought to ear tag that money for the nature park.
Mhm.
I'm good with the time limit as long as, I don't think that's something we want there. Once the nature park is up and going, that's kind of gonna be a little bit of an eyesore and to combating things.
It's definitely, I hope with you guys, a one-time deal here. It's, the timing's just right for them and us, but if we were into this any more further, if we had the fencing and the gates up, the restroom in, there's no way we can do it, so.
Has DWR looked at the site plan? and
Well, I
looked at
took
what it
Natalie
means?
down there and we kind of looked it over and.
So she thinks they can get trucks in and out, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and we did, city crews went in there and we also moved, we kind of cleaned some debris up in piles and kind of made it more organized and so it actually opened up quite a bit.
Is there verbiage on like what they're expected, like keeping it clean and free of garbage and that kind of
They've
thing?
got some reclamation verbiage that talks about cleaning up after.
Yeah,
That was the, can't remember if that's where that 30-day or.
That's all I
All times repair and keep, it says it right there, essentially, if you
Yeah.
go back. Operator shall at all times repair and keep that safe and in good order, free of noxious weeds, litter, and debris.
If you want more than that, Rowdy, we can have.
No, I think that's good. It's just I've been on a couple oil sites. They tend
They
to
don't look.
not keep them that clean, so as long as we have something where we can go and say this.
Well, on 1.6, then Rowdy might follow along if you go down to the reclamation Park Sunshine, right there in 110.
So is there a waste disposal plan? They talked about cleaning up the sewage. Are they gonna have houses on site and stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah,
Seems good to do because,
yeah.
Do those two cover what you want?
Yeah.
Cody, did you have any concerns?
No.
I'm not sure if I'm reading that.
Let me see this for here.
No,
Well, it is like by Moonlight stuff.
And Ryan mentioned that he talked to us as a neighbor. We're also talking about him specifically about our separate agreement with them for the nature park, and they were fine with it, right? But it's not gonna violate any of the terms or conditions of that other agreement. They did want to make sure that it didn't interfere with the construction of the pond. We've already addressed that.
Don?
I move we approve them. I do have a question though, before I make the motion. Do we, need to state that the money be earmarked or not worry about that?
I think that would be a good thing to put in the motion. Be earmarked the money for us.
Okay, I move that we approve and that the money received go towards the nature park.
I'll second. Motion is second by Councilman White, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thanks, Ryan.
I was trying to give someone else a chance. It's just easier if I just keep it moving, I guess.
Does anybody have any discussion items tonight?
I have just one minor thing, just to make you aware, mostly for transparency. I will be sworn in on the Duchesne County School Board January 3rd. I will not make the work meeting that night because I'll be sworn in, so you probably have a faster meeting. But also, just so you know, I will also have to recuse myself for anything related to the school district. And I know there's one thing, I'm talking to Chief Watkins, that should be coming up and across your desk or across City Council's agenda at some time related to the SRO. But anyway, I just want to make sure people are aware that, just for transparency's sake.
Well, congratulations and thanks for mentioning that. Grant, one question, because Don's been, Councilman Busenbark's been helping us negotiate some of the things with the pool and with contracts with the, what you call it, anyway, the park agreement, interlocal or I don't know, entity agreement. The park
Agreement.
the agreement, whatever, between the two. So he probably shouldn't be in on those negotiations.
No.
I don't know that it would technically be a conflict of interest, but it definitely has the appearance. And so to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, I would switch.
Actually, on the school board, the reason I brought it up is on the school board, it does state in their policy, though they don't follow it all the time, is that you should declare when you're sworn in any conflicts of interest that are potential. And USU hasn't been, so I never brought that up, that I work for USU. But the school board, I feel like there's more potential there with, land and sports and rec and those types of things that I just want to make sure to be transparent. And again, like when Dave, recuses himself, I'll do the same on those. But I'll try to make sure not to attend any of those meetings or anything. So.
I've got a question for you, Grant, just because I'm curious. If, so can he still, behind the scenes, like, work one side or the other if he wants to, like, without any issues? As long as he's not making a.
It's not voting on it for either side.
So like if we have something we'd really like him to work, I mean, this, we feel like the school board's being one way or another, we'd like him to
It's the
work on.
It's the decision making, which is done when you guys vote here, that's really the problem. So working for either side, and a lot of it depends on what Ron is comfortable with. It would be the same for you guys if you feel there's a potential conflict. But if you're working on something but not participating in the vote, and I would say for either side, although I only advise you here. But as long as you're not participating in the decision, casting a vote, then being involved in some other way is probably fine. And it's something that you might want to ask me questions on kind of a case-by-case basis, because the situations are always a little bit different. But as a general rule, it's the vote that's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. And even in the vote, and you could even still vote if you declare your conflict, but it's not probably unwise.
Yeah, you can. But I always advise not to. But we have had some councilmen that say not to vote anyway. And as long as you declare the conflict, that's that.
Well, I just wanted to state it up front going forward, and that way everyone is aware of that. So I'm sure people are, but not everyone may be. And like I said, I think for transparency, it's better I just declare that. I'll declare it at the January 3rd meeting when I'm sworn in, and then everything will be above board. And then I'll just work on things, both sides, as best I can.
And one, to clarify a little bit more, to answer your question, Dave, when I say be involved in everything but the vote, I guess it could depend on what you mean by working on something behind the scenes. If it's trying to influence somebody else's vote, that would still be a conflict. If it's just participating in meetings or it's something, then probably not.
We just want to work for Roosevelt City over there. Really, I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Those kind of situations are actually, I feel, beneficial. You have somebody that can, because a lot of times we're talking about a situation or someone else, we don't know what they feel or think. we actually have somebody who was there with that meeting and he can pass along both ways. This is what we,
Yeah, all of you, regardless of whether you're in another elected position, are bringing knowledge and experience from different places, and the more that comes in, the bigger benefit it is to this board itself, but also to the residents. So I agree with that, but where it's another elected position especially, you've got to be just a little careful.
Right. So providing clarity to the situation for the other school board to kind of understand. Our situation isn't bad, but to try to influence a vote one way or another is bad.
You just lost your power on the side of things. Any other discussion items? Or items need to be next meeting discussed? City manager report, do you want to string that one too?
Yeah, but did you wanna do finance or?
He jumped on again.
Where is finance?
He's trying to
Right
get a discussion.
Purchase orders. Oh my gosh. These guys are on my case to get this meeting done, then you're handing out this stuff. Go ahead.
Purchase orders have already gone through, I think. If you had questions, I've probably already answered them, but if not, let me know. Financial update, there's not a whole lot to tell you there. We're 42% of the year has expired. Revenues and expenses are, for the most part, below that in every instance.
Revenues are below.
Revenues are not a real concern because of the timing. I do know that we saw almost 900,000 deposited this year, or this month, that has not been accounted for property tax. So it's just the timing of when we actually do receive those things, like the money from the alcohol money and different things. It's just the timing, so. Everything seems to be pretty well on schedule. We're moving along, getting a lot of the capital projects completed and
If there's no questions, I'll move we approve the purchase orders.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And was that the purchase orders?
Yes,
Okay,
what I said, purchase orders.
just want to make sure. All right. City manager report.
While he's coming up, I just appreciate how thorough Rhonda is on those, and she always is able to answer my questions, and I appreciate that.
As y'all know, Josh couldn't be here tonight, so I'm filling in, and I got a few notes from his meeting this morning. It's all fun stuff, but one thing, so I'll start with one thing and end with fun stuff, so. Work session, on the next council meeting on January 3rd, he's wanting to go over these resolutions. So we'll kind of have that on back of mind.
Fee schedule.
The schedule. So be brushed up on that and familiar with it because there'll be a few changes, I'm sure. So the other things, a lot's gonna happen between now and then. So Santa Claus is gonna be here till Thursday from 10 to noon, correct?
Is he healthy enough?
He said he will be here no matter what.
Okay, for him, Santa he will.
He will be here.
Somebody give him some chicken noodle soup.
This is being recorded. Still.
This one.
He will be.
Boy,
Always the door.
As long as he's not contagious. On the record, he's not contagious.
He's not contagious.
Yeah, Santa may have an ID ball with him.
Might have an idea on it, Sam, but he'll be here.
Focus. Anyway, ice rink is now open, so if you're getting brave, go get your skates and go out. Dustin and the crew have been working hard up there. They already took the Zamboni over it once, and it's getting smoother.
It's a process.
Yeah, it is a process, so spread the word, it is open, and speaking of that, our winter celebration is gonna be again on New Year's Eve. It
That's
will,
Sunday night,
No,
Saturday night.
Saturday,
New Year's Eve is not.
Yeah, right.
and it'll start at 4 and fireworks will shoot off at 6. It's gonna be kinda short, but there'll be hot cocoa and music and fire barrels and fireworks and ice. Anything I'm missing?
There's also the food truck that will be there.
Oh, food trucks.
We've invited multiple so far, only Elsa's office is confirmed.
Be a good time, so anyway, that's all I had, unless you had questions for.
So
Well,
probably
Josh, you
30.
did want to mention the fraud risk assessment, which will be presented, presented. Right, I know, he just said this morning, we just wanted to let them know that that was.
The next work session, about risk report, okay.
I have a fraud risk assessment that is presented every year, to just let you know what the risk is to the city. They'll have that completed.
And I'll throw this tidbit on in for me, the 2 million gallon tank is done. I know it's hard to believe, I do have pictures, aerial pictures, but we came under budget roughly over 100,000, so now we gotta get creative on, because that money can only be spent on related to that project, so we put in
Did we upgrade
cameras and stuff.
chlorine system?
Yeah, we've already done that. But we put in security cameras and chlorine residual readers, which normally we would not have done, but. So that's a good thing, and then hopefully we'll get the road repaired, so. Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks. Discussion item and committee reports, I mean, same thing, anything.
I don't have anything else.
That's funny. Items for future discussion. Maybe we ought to change that.
Yeah, the intention was, the discussion items would be like, if there was an item coming before you, it was only to be discussed, not to be voted on.
Oh. Okay.
And then items for future discussion would be items like we just discussed.
I only laugh because I said it like times and it's, I know they're different. Sorry. Any items for future discussion on the,
No.
okay, thanks, Mary. Oh. No items for closed session tonight.
Move we adjourn then.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Very adjourned. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Miriam, for all the decorations.